All right, hello. We are getting ready for quiz number 2 on chapter 4 about loops. And we're just going to do a few things to get ready. First of which is this warm up. Today, class, you'll need potentially a notebook and some paper, and then also an editor to write programs in, whether that's Eclipse or the online editor. All right, so pause the video, try this first one, then we'll get to writing some programs, getting ready for the quiz. All right, so I kind of break it down step by step. So the inner loop, actually, if we start there, is going to run with 0, 1, and 2 for the values of inner, sorry. So it's going to run basically 3 times. Okay, so each time we go here, this loop's going to run 3 times. And then the outer loop is going to run for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's going to run 5 times, and then each time it runs, the inner loop will run 3 times. So we have this going 5 times, and each time it goes 3 times. So it's basically 5 times 3, 15 times that statement will get printed. And so basically you multiply the number of times the outer loop runs with the number of times the inner loop runs. Okay, so we are going to do a couple programs. So we're going to do a validation one again where they're doing zip code and it's 5 letters long. Not 5 letters, basically. It should be 5 numbers, actually. Sorry about that. Okay, and then we're going to keep looping until they enter a valid zip code, something that's linked 5, and then I think it's just easier here if you use a string versus an int. Certainly you could do it with an int if you wanted to. The only problem with ints again on this, I'm not sure if you've talked about this in class, but if your zip code starts with 0, which I think some zip codes do, if you enter that, Java is going to treat this as 3,567. So it's not going to take that leading 0. So probably the easiest way to do this is just with a string variable. So I'd pause the video, give it a shot. Basically, just make a new Java file or whatever, make a main, make a scanner, and then see if you can write the right condition for this program. Not condition, I guess, write loop. All right, so only watch this if you've already tried it yet. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do ask them, so we should prompt. So please enter your zip code, and then we're going to scan it in a string. So I'm going to do string zip equals scan.next. I'm going to do next line. Gets the string with any return on the end. All right, and then basically I want to keep doing these lines while the zip.length is not equal to the right length of 5. Okay, so until they enter the correct length, I'm going to keep asking them, right? So let's see, it'll ask them, it'll scan their answer, come back and check. I guess I need this here, link, and then it'll just keep asking and keep rescanning it until we get the right one. All right, so as has come up before, this is complaining because zip doesn't exist until here. So I'm going to make a string up here called zip, and I just want to make it be a value that forces the while loop to enter, so that it'll come in here the very first time and ask them for their zip and then overwrite what they type in. So I don't need to declare the type there. I'm just going to overwrite my string variable at this point. So I'm just going to make it something that's not length 5. So let's make it a blank string, and then it'll force it to go in here and keep looping. Okay, and when they're done, we'll say, thank you. What's that so hard? All right, so basically, I think this should work. Let's do da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, and boom. Okay, and we could add a little insult in here at some point, maybe with an if, I guess, if they don't enter the right thing. But I think the way it is now, I think it's pretty good. All right, it's pretty clean, it runs. There's obviously different ways to set this up. Like sometimes I'll prompt them once on the outside and then do a while loop. But here, basically, I think it's okay to do it the way it is, like this. Okay, second one. This is a tricky one, but I thought it'd be a good one to like, this would be like an almost like an AP level type question you might have to do. Obviously, it'd be a little more complex than this on the AP level, but this could be like a multiple choice AP question. So if we want to display this grid here that goes a row of all ones and a star with a row of two, and then, you know, 2 stars and 3 3s, 3 stars, 2 4s, and then 4 stars and a single 5. How on earth would we write this? So pause the video and see if you can come up with at least a plan for this. All right, if you want to try the code, that'd be fantastic, but at least get a plan, a basic plan before watching the rest. All right, so hopefully some pieces here. We're going to need nested loops. Okay, and so again, the outside loop goes through the rows. So basically, I'm going to have a loop that goes 4 int row equals 1 row is less than or equal to 5 plus plus row. So that would loop through the 5 rows we need. And then I'm going to do 4 int column. And the columns again are 5. It starts at 1 and goes to 5. And this is a little wrong what I just said there, I guess, because technically it would index from 0 to 4. But I don't think it really matters if I do 1 to 5 or 0 to 4. As long as I have 5 rows and 5 columns, I should be okay. And we'll see in a minute here why it might make sense to have row as 1. Okay, so the trick is each time we go along and print, we don't print the same thing. Sometimes we print the number and sometimes we print a star. Okay, so we sort of got to figure out what's the condition for figuring out when do we print a number or when do we print a star. Okay, so more or less, I think the right if here is basically, if we look at here, the row and column are equal. And then when we get here, the column is, well, column, I guess if we index from 0, maybe I'll put them on here quick. Okay, so here we can see that row and column are both 0. Here we can see column is 1, row is 0, column 2, row is 0, etc., etc. In the second one, here's row of 1, column 0. Here they're equal, right? And now column is greater than row. Column is 2, row is 1. Column is 3, row is 1. Column is 4, row is 1. Okay, so basically when the row is bigger, so here row is 2, column is 0. So we print a star, row 2, column 1, so we print a star. And once they become equal, we start printing numbers. So basically the check is if the column is greater than or equal to the row, we print the number. All right, so if I come back in here, basically if the column is greater than or equal to the row, then we're going to system out print a number, which happens to be either, actually the row it looks like, is the row number is, you know, technically it's index 0 here, but because I did mine from 1 to 5, my rows will actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing with my columns. So if I system out print row here, that'll print 1 for the first row, 2 for the second, 3, 4, etc. So that's part of the reason why I made my indexes start at 1 instead of 0. But you certainly could do 0 here and then print out row plus 1. All right, and then the rest of this is we just need the else. Okay, so if it's not greater than or equal to, then we system out print star. Okay, and I think that code right there roughly should. Okay, so if you want to see it in Eclipse, it's basically that's the exact same code. But I'll just type it in Eclipse and see, make sure that it actually works. Because we do have to print the return, right? Remember, we got to print a full row. So this in here prints a full row when we loop through the columns. So we print a return outside of that. And these are just regular prints without a return. All right, so you can see what it looks like here in Eclipse. All right, so here's what the code should look like. We've got our row loop 1 to 5, column loop 1 to 5. If column is greater than or equal to row, we print out the row value, like a bunch of 1s or a bunch of 2s. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then we print out a star. All right, and the return doesn't come until we're done going through the columns, which creates a row. So at the end of this, then we do the print ln to print a return at the end of it. So if you take a look at this, I gotta get past the zip code here quick, but you can see it prints the desired outcome. So basically in the beginning, column is pretty much always greater than or equal to row, but over time as row gets bigger, column's only greater than or equal to it in the very final spot. So that is it. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully you got this second one. This one's a tricky one, but I think it's a good practice for the AP type level questions. All right, that is all. Thank you for watching.